Adam. He lived for 930 years and died. The first man appearing in the Bible, Adam, is said to have lived to the age of 930. It wasn't just Adam. Enos was 905 years old. Noah was 950 years old. Methuselah, said to have lived the longest, was an astonishing 969 years old. It is said that the maximum human lifespan achievable with currently developed medical technology is 120 years. This is a very large difference compared to the 900 years of the earlier Genesis figures. If, according to the view of creationists, the Bible is a history book that actually happened, how could humanity, in the beginning, have lived for over 900 years? Creation scholars attempted a scientific approach to this longevity and proposed several hypotheses, and the results were surprising. God made the firmament and separated the waters under the firmament from the waters above the firmament. The book of Genesis features something called the firmament. The firmament refers to the expanse, meaning the sky, and according to the verse, it means the waters above and below were divided based on the sky. If the waters below the sky are the sea, what on earth could the waters above the sky be? So, scientists virtually recreated the water above the sky. It was a hypothesis, asking what if a giant layer of water vapor or water existed above the atmosphere? The results were very interesting. A significant part of human aging is caused by sunlight. Sunlight includes beneficial elements for life, like microwaves and infrared rays, but it also contains a large amount of harmful ultraviolet rays, X-rays, and gamma rays. If a giant body of water, like an ocean, were formed above the atmosphere, it was revealed that only the beneficial elements for life would penetrate the water, while harmful cosmic rays would not be able to pass through the water layer. However, a giant ocean, not even a cloud, floating in the sky, is something very difficult to see in reality. Therefore, scholars said it's highly probable that this was not an ocean above the sky, but ice clouds. Recently, the U.S. Space Agency, NASA, observed a unique natural phenomenon. It was that exhaust gases expelled when a spacecraft penetrated the atmosphere and went up, froze, and formed clouds. The surprising thing was that these ice clouds did not fall to the ground, but drifted all the way to polar regions like the North or South Pole. This natural phenomenon, also called polar mesospheric clouds, is also an example, showing that solid and heavy ice particles can float in the sky. Could it be that, in the beginning, such ice clouds were spread wide and thick in the sky? If ice clouds or a water layer covered the Earth's sky, there could be various advantages besides blocking cosmic rays. Because it would be possible to maintain a constant temperature, the Earth could have an environment like a perfect large incubator, ideal for life. If such a natural phenomenon were a prerequisite, even polar regions like the South or North Pole could have a relatively warm climate. In fact, beneath the ice in polar regions, traces of ancient plants, presumed to have thrived in the distant past, are sometimes found. This is a fact that is sometimes cited in academic papers as evidence that the ecosystems of the South or North Pole flourished in the distant past. A passage where one can infer ice above the sky can also be found in the records of the Jewish historian Josephus. The Hebrews believed that in the beginning there was a crystal firmament above the sky. Before the firmament mentioned in Josephus's record, the modifier crystal is attached. Crystal, a clear and transparent gem, has a very similar external image to ice. What could the crystal firmament, mentioned by Josephus, have meant? Was it just a religious, mythological record? If ice clouds blocked harmful cosmic rays and maintained a constant climate, living creatures on Earth could have had a correspondingly high life expectancy. However, ice clouds don't only provide benefits. The biggest problem was that it would be difficult for rain to fall in such a special environment. Rain is precious nourishment for plants and animals, and an indispensable product of nature. Earlier, finding clues in the Bible that could be scientific evidence, scholars now looked for a verse that could be a clue about the absence of rain. And in the Bible, there was also a passage that could be evidence for that. From the sky, no rain fell, but a mist would rise from the earth and water the whole surface of the ground. Could it truly be that the ice clouds, floating above the sky in the beginning, extended human lifespans to hundreds of years? Creation scholars claim that numerous other pieces of evidence exist besides this, and cited the magnetic field as another secret to longevity. The Earth's magnetic field acts like an umbrella, shielding us from rain, blocking the fierce solar winds blowing from the sun. Solar winds include various rays originating from space. If humans were directly exposed to solar winds, they would suffer severe illnesses and after effects from radiation exposure, and would eventually face extinction. Research results revealed that the Earth's current magnetic field strength is significantly lower compared to the past, and it was found to have a half-life of approximately 1,400 years, meaning its strength halves. Based on this, tracing back through time suggests that, in the era when the Genesis figures in the Bible lived, a magnetic field approximately 16 times stronger than today was protecting the Earth. This could be a significant advantage for living creatures, including humans. Could they have lived long lives because these environmental advantages existed? However, not all figures in the Bible lived this long. The lifespans of these figures began to decrease dramatically after the Great Flood. Lifespans began to halve, with Shem at 600 and Eber at 464. Then, the lifespans of figures like Abraham at 175, Jacob at 147, and Joseph at 110 became drastically shorter, significantly less than the earlier Genesis figures. Creation scholars say this is because the giant ice layer that existed above the sky melted, became the Great Flood, and fell to the earth, causing the environmental advantages they could enjoy to disappear. They explained that the ice clouds that enveloped the earth and blocked various harmful elements disappeared, causing humanity to undergo gradual degeneration in lifespan and health. They also said that the unimaginable scale of the Great Flood, mentioned in the Bible, is plausible if the ice layer that covered the entire Earth became rain. This is because it was highly probable that it was a global catastrophe, exceeding the concept of a mere flood, capable of submerging most of the Earth's continents with water, and more. There are also interesting research findings that can be linked to this. Dr. Jeannie Ska from the U.S. National Academy of Sciences in California said about the amount of coal excavated from the Earth that it is impossible. She claimed that for plants to grow enough to produce the amount of coal currently existing on Earth, there would need to be over 100 times more plants than now, on land covering 80% of the Earth's total surface area. Currently, the Earth's land area is 30%, and sea area is 70%. If Dr. Jeannie Ska's words are true, where did the remaining 50% of the land disappear to? This question also suggests the possibility of a global-scale Great Flood in the distant past. In other words, the current Earth is the Earth in a state submerged by water after the Great Flood. If plants grew extensively on about 80% of the Earth's surface area, this could also have direct and indirect effects on lifespan. This is because abundant oxygen grants high healing power to living creatures. Summarizing all the previous points, the Earth's environment, in the beginning, can be inferred as follows. Giant ice clouds floated above the atmosphere, protecting the Earth from cosmic rays. The ice layer maintained a constant temperature, like a large biological incubator. 100 times more plants than now grew on 80% of the Earth's surface area, generating abundant oxygen. There was increased natural healing power and recovery due to oxygen. A magnetic field 16 times stronger than now blocked solar winds. Could humanity in the distant ancient past, where all these conditions were met, truly have lived for over 900 years? And from the point of the Great Flood, as the existing ecological environment began to collapse, did humans undergo repeated degeneration, physically and in terms of lifespan, reaching the present state? While this is difficult to accept from the perspective of evolution, if creationism is also viewed as a theory, the scientific basis by which the Genesis figures could have had lifespans over 900 years The fact that the timing of their degeneration aligns with the event of the Great Flood, and that biblical verses and ancient document records support this, is certainly an interesting hypothesis. In 2013, a team led by Dr. Pankaj Kapahi at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in the US succeeded in extending the lifespan of Caenorhabditis elegans, a type of roundworm, by up to 5 times through experiments altering its genetic pathway. Dr. Kapahi stated that while the experiments are still in the early stages, he expects they could be applied to humans in the future. If applied to humans, a person living up to 500 years could potentially be born. Although the Earth's power has significantly decreased compared to the past, humans continue their efforts to break through that thick ceiling. Based on advanced technology, and perhaps the dream of extending lifespan stems from an instinct to reclaim a lost past? This has been the Repository of Wonders.